I was doing good, doing everything for people, getting a couple sponsors, and I met the best thing that ever happened to me was Bridezilla. I got a call.
The show.
No.
Oh, okay.
A real life Bridezilla.
Oh. Good. All right. Well, this is where we just continue talking, except we're being recorded now. So, hey, welcome to Smokin the Process. I'm Tim Nash with Skogman Realty. I'm a residential and commercial realtor here in Cedar Rapids. I'm hanging out with my good friend and small business owner with Back 40 Barbecue, Matt Miller.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Good to be back.
And what's Tone doing? Oh, okay. We're good.
I'll take the shout out.
And we shout out to the Sound Lounge. I've never seen that. The Sound Lounge. Shout out to Tone and the Sound Box.
Thank you.
And who is our producer and always here helping us get this podcast out to you guys. But we have a very, very, very special guest here in the studio today. This guy is, I don't know, you might be internationally known at this point. Are you international, Thyron?
Yeah, we got a lot of fans in Australia, England, Europe. You know, they always contact me on Messenger, and I like to, you know, sometimes they pay that big bill to get my rubs and sauces shipped over there to them in Australia. So
I love it.
Yes.
So the internationally known now BBQ Showdown Season 2 champion Thyron Mathews is here with us in the studio today. Welcome, Thyron.
hey, thank y'all for having us, man. Thank you so much, guys. The hospitality has been amazing.
I mean, so Matt told me he knew you, and I about lost it.
He didn't believe me. He was like, "You don't know anybody."
What? I mean, I thought maybe you rubbed elbows with him at like a barbecue event.
Yeah,
like,
he
"You do
saw me
barbecue?"
walk by him.
Yeah, he gave you a nod, and that was about it. So, so folks, I think I actually talked about Barbecue Showdown on another episode. I think so. Barbecue Showdown is on Netflix, and I think there's 3 seasons so far, and. We were watching this. We watched season 1. It's kind of like the Great British Bake Off, only it's American. That's how I kind of look at it, because everybody's so nice to each other, and I want to hear about how nice. I want to hear about that was real or not, because everybody's so darn nice on that show. It's almost unbelievable how supportive you all of each other. But we watched season 1, absolutely loved it. Season 2 came out, and all of a sudden there was a guy from Iowa on season 2, and we were like, no way. I was represented on the Barbecue Showdown. That's awesome. And we didn't even think that because we didn't know anybody, we didn't know that you'd win. And now you won. And we're just like, yes, Iowa. I mean, nobody would have thought, everybody's think like Texas or what? Where else? Carolinas? Where else? Kansas City. You know, nobody thought a guy from Iowa would win the Barbecue Showdown. So that was it was so cool.
Oh man,
Yeah.
yes, I'm glad I was able to represent.
Yep.
Absolutely.
And so so now your home is Olwein, correct?
Correct, Oelwein, Iowa.
Olwein, Iowa. And I guess let's talk a little bit about, let's start off a little bit about just the showdown real quick and talk about that piece, and then we can kind of move into some other stuff. What was how did you apply? Did someone recommend you? How did that work? How'd you get in on that?
Oh, so it started from YouTube. I had a YouTube, and at the time I had about 50,000 subscribers. I used to do a lot of lives. I used to be like, we're live, and this was doing, the C word, COVID, and we're cooking 150 slabs of ribs, and we got 60 pork butts, and we had 300 car drive-in, where people were standing in their cars, and we was having 300 people come in. So at the time, we was selling a lot of barbecue, doing a lot of social media, and just trying to make everything fun. So we had a lot of interaction games while people was waiting in their cars for hours and hours and hours.
Oh my gosh.
So I did a video at Wee Willie's in Quasqueton. It got almost 3 million views. I'm doing a live, and next thing you know, I'm seeing 60,000 people in the chat on a live, and I'm like, what's going on? I'm going viral?
I love it.
And make a long story short, they recognized that, and they recognized my talents, so they contacted me. I thought it was I'm like, this is a joke. You know, I got cruel friends that love to play jokes.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, so I'm hanging up on them. And they're reaching out to my wife. Talking about, you want to be on a TV show called BBQ Showdown? I'm telling my wife, baby, that's spam, or that's our friend Hillary. That's my brother Chris. That's my family playing jokes on me, my work family. And finally, they got a hold of my wife. My wife like, honey, I think this is the real deal. So I call them, and they're like, we've been trying to get a hold of you. We think you'll be amazing on this show called BBQ Showdown. Did you see it? I'm like, yes, I saw it. I loved it. They say, well, we're shooting season 2. We know things will be a little different because of the C word. Mm-hmm. But we want you to come. And I'm like, okay. So they ghosted me. 6 months went by. They said, because they told us, hey, we stopped communicating with you. You're done. We don't give you no excuse. No, you didn't make it. You made it.
Wow.
About 6 months into it, you know, forgot everything happened. Next thing you know, they called me back. It's like, hey, you made it to the next level. We still want you. And I'm like, okay. You know, by then I was like, I was over it, you know.
Yeah.
And, it didn't really hit me until probably about that January, when I was supposed to leave in February. That's when it started hitting me like, this is happening.
How long is the shoot?
The shoot wound up being almost 5 weeks because we spent 2 weeks together, like just the cast, mm-hmm. and that's how we developed that bond. And the bond was like, seriously, like that's all we had. We couldn't be around nobody. You know, we was big investments. You know, Netflix was investing money into us. You know, this thing was like Disney World of entertainment. They had like cameras everywhere, and I'm quite sure millions and millions of dollars of paying people, you know, wages and cameras and things of that nature. So all we could was be around each other. We had to get a test every day, and then we could be around each other. So
because I keep forgetting because of COVID.
Yeah, COVID. Yeah, so we sit around we found an old rusty grill because we was tired of eating out at the hotel room, and get down there and we'll start cooking, you know, trying to show our skills off that, hey, you know, I remember pulling the grill behind the garbage can that we found, like some construction workers left in Covington, Georgia. That's where it was filmed at. And cooking, you know, for Joey V, or cooking for Delilah that owns a restaurant. You know, Joey V owns a restaurant. You know, cooking for, you know, people that California or Texas, and you know, and it was intimidating because it was like, you know, they were like, I won this contest, I won that contest. I'm like, I won the county fair. I was a grand champion. You know, I was best in show at the Iowa State Fair. You know, which is a great thing.
Hey, the Iowa State Fair. I think that's also international.
You know, so it was a great thing. But the thing, it was just intimidating because I have a full-time job. You know, and a bunch of the competitors, that's all they did. You know, so I was like, I'm in over my head. You know, so. With that being said, the first episode I got down there, because you don't see nothing until you see it. Mm. So they'll take you out there to say this is where you're going to be at. But when you see it, it's like cameras everywhere. And you're like, I remember just like losing it. Just like the first episode, I just like, I don't know, nothing with that. Like the ideas I had, or everything just went bloop, pressure bust a pipe. And I almost went home on the first episode because my nerves got the best of me. Well, if you look at the first episode, I was probably about 45, 50 yards away from the ingredients.
Oh, yeah.
And we was in Georgia, and Georgia had that good old red clay. Mm-hmm. And I'm walking with a pair of Timberlands on. Of course, I had to have Timbos. And I'm walking back and forth. Oh, I need garlic. Oh, I need this. Next thing you know, those 40 yards turned into 80 yards, turned into 120 yards. Next thing you know, I done did a marathon, you know, and I haven't did one dish. And fatigue will make make something out of you. It'll pop up and show his old ugly head and let you know that you're not in shape.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. You can cook, but can you cook while you're tired?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I've watched that though, and I think it was the third season where a gal. I think she got heat. I think she was a heat cat. I think she was actually a heat casualty. I don't know if you watched that, but yeah. So I can imagine how hot it is.
It'll get hot, cold.
Yeah.
Hot, and then when you're cooking, you're dealing with the heat of the fire. We did a lot of open fire cooking, and that was something that I wasn't used to. Cooking under the ground, that type of stuff. So it was all about I kind of used my experience where I work full time at a jail. I'm a jail administrator.
Yep.
Adapting and overcoming. Like I deal with the most unpredictable thing in the whole world: people. People are more unpredictable than weather,
100%.
Yeah, you can see a guy walk through that door and you think that, oh my goodness, this guy looks cool, and next thing you know, he's not.
Right.
So, with that being said, I think a lot of that had a lot to do with it, just the unpredictable things that they threw at us. And I tell you what, the cast was amazing. The people they picked, the producers. I understand why you have to go through so much psychological stuff, because it is psychological draining, because the days are they had it in Georgia for a reason, because Georgia don't have good labor laws. so those 17, 18-hour days, they wear on you. So a lot of that has to do with it. And I look at it as like, I'm representing, first of all, my God, my family, and my country, and also my hometowns where I'm from. And I get to tell a story. I get to tell a story that never been told before. And that's the story of Thyron Mathews and his family. So it was an honor for me to be on such a big platform to tell my story. So I didn't take that lightly. And I think that's what kind of propelled me to greatness, because I never thought I belonged there.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's a couple of things that I'm pulling out of that. But so one thing that we like to talk about on this, because the reason this podcast exists, the reason that Matt and I's kind of goal is to provide tips and resources for other small business owners. Mm-hmm. And one thing I heard before you even got to the BBQ Showdown was I heard that you were the word's not coming to me right now, but you were in COVID was a rough situation, especially for all small business owners. COVID was tough. And you, adapt and overcome. You were creative,
yes.
And you thought of how am I going to still get how am I still going to make my product available to my customers in this really difficult time?
Yes.
And that right there helped you get the followers and the social media, and that's what's got you exposure to get the people on the show to take interest. So
yes.
Creativity and. Again, I can't think of the right word. Anybody else can think of the term?
Handsome.
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 Yeah. Handsome man. Yeah.
Creativity and necessity.
Yes, and necessity.
Yes.
Yep. And just adapt and overcome. You said it. So, no, that's awesome. What are you laughing about?
I don't even know.
And then, also I think it says something, and this is being in the Iowa National Guard when I would be deployed, we always got crap from the active duty guys because we were weekend warriors. We weren't real Army, But you get into some situations where you gotta figure out a living space, and all you got is a metal container. And those electricians and those plumbers, those construction people, those people that do a full-time job on top of that, they tend to be more creative, and they tend to figure out a way. And
yes.
that's what I heard when you telling that story. Nothing against the other competitors, obviously they're all great,
yes.
But they were all doing that barbecue full time, and you still are working a full-time job on top of doing this.
Yes.
And so you had to kind of use that creativity and figure out a way. Because the question I was going to ask you was, how did you adapt to all those different cooking methods? Because I was watching that and I'm just the different things, but you already kind of answered it. You're just like, I just found a way to do it. Yeah. So that's fantastic. That's really cool. Well, thanks for sharing that story about the BBQ Showdown. I don't want to talk too much about it because what I really want to focus on is you and your story. And I know BBQ Showdown is for you. It's about this much of this story.
Yes.
You know. So, and you know, when I talked to Matt and we first started this, but your first episode, we kind of talked about, but just beginnings. Like, how did you come to doing barbecue, smoking meat, doing what you do? And just tell us a little about your origin story.
So I'm from a small town called Royal, Florida. Royal, Florida is it is the only place where the slaves got their 40 acres and a mule. Royal, Florida is a small town in Central Florida. So it was basically, before it was a state, it was inhabited by Seminole Indians. And my family escaped from the Carolinas to go down to Florida to join the French to fight the Native Americans.
What roundabouts? What year?
Lord, I
mean, not specifically, but
like the middle of the 1800s.
Okay.
Yeah, middle of the 1800s, and basically, it's a general. If you Google it, it'll tell you that the general gave this town and the people in it their 40 acres and a mule. So I grew up in a very historical small town. It was predominantly African American, hard-working farmers, and I remember that's all we did. You know, farm watermelons, cantaloupes, hogs, hunted. You know, we had our white neighbors. Just white and black where I was from, you know, until I went to school, you know, and it was just basically living, you know, and then crack happened. You know, the crack epidemic happened, and that's when we seen things change in that little small town. It really hit this small town because at the time it was just a town where we had baseball games, we had like traveling, like the small towns come downtown, play baseball. It was just a community with a jig joint, little small businesses, you know. Probably didn't have license, but you go there, that's where you get your barbecue from, you know, no food license, you know. Go here, this is how you butcher your hog. This is the hog man, he butchers your hog for you. Go over here, this lady does all the sewing and knitting and things you need. You know, you go here, you get your syrup made when you got your sugar cane, when it's time to harvest. When it's time to plop your field, you got this guy with all the tractors, and you know, when it's time to plow your land, you know, it was a community where everybody depended on everybody to make things happen, and crack diffused that, broke that cycle, and I seen it, you know, lived it, you know, so going through that and seeing what addiction does to people and does to a community and the violence it brings, you know, we still have strong people there, that stood the test of time, that's still standing the test of time, that's still trying to keep that part of Florida for what it is, but it's a lot of pressure growing on it by politicians trying to destroy this town because they want to put the interstate through it. But that town taught me how to work, how to adapt and overcome, and had a strong mother and strong father. They always told me, son, you don't need a crowd. If something right, stand, no matter who stands with you. And I know that sounds like, but that's how I grew my whole life up, you know?
Yeah.
If I believe something right, I don't care who says wrong, but if it's right, I'm standing for it. And we just have to meet somewhere because I'm standing for what I believe. And my dad always taught me, and my mom always taught me, learn how to say no. Get over people. And no has helped me so much. I use no a lot because you can always fix no, but you can't fix yes. And just learn how to have faith and just walk by faith. And, you know, when times get hard, we never, you know, it was some proud moments. I mean, I got to say I had some proud family, like, don't ask nobody for nothing. God gave you legs, gave you hands, not a mouth to beg, you know, and that's how I was kind of raised, you know, to a fault, you know, and but it was still good because I always grew up that you sweat of your brow, and that carried me all through my life. So when I left, I played football for the Wildwood Wildcats, another small town, the suburbs of Royal. Royal was a small town, another small town that was bigger. Wildwood was the big city, so to speak, and Royal was the small town with no stoplights. Still don't have stoplights, but played football for the Wildwood Wildcats. Coach came to recruitment, Dan Donnerstort. Said, you want to come on to Iowa? I said, Iowa? Where that's at? You know, but one thing I knew that I wanted to leave Royal. Not because it's just never had anybody in the family go to college.
Yeah.
So I was the first one to do that. And I knew how hard my mom and dad worked for me to graduate high school, because in Florida they got something called tracking. And that's basically where you take a test when you're in the 4th grade, and that decides what you're going to be the rest of your life. Yeah. So they said, no, your son don't get a regular diploma. He gets a special diploma because his scores were low in the 4th grade. My dad was like, let my son take the ACT, let him take it's called the HISCIT, High School Competency Test. And they said, no, he won't pass. It'll be a waste of money. It'll be a waste of taxpayers' money. So my dad almost had to go to jail. Seriously. He's like, you going to let my son? And I remember the principal come out there like, well, you're going to let him take the test. It's going to be a waste of money. And I remember taking the test. It was 300 reading, 300 math. I missed 3 on the math and 4 on the reading. And they didn't say congratulations. They say, how did you cheat?
Jeez.
And, you know, it wasn't that. I studied hard. I wasn't dumb. You know, I had problems, you know, with dyslexia, but I knew I could do it if I studied. So growing up, a lot of people didn't encourage me. You know, I had the same math book, same English book from 7th grade to 10th grade. And I remember my mom and dad going out to arguing with the teachers because they was upset because they didn't want to put me in a classroom to learn how to type and do certain things. And it was an uphill battle because, you know, where we went to school at, we had the campus, then we had the people that was off in trailers. And they call that the Magic Kingdom. That was a joke. You know, oh, you go to school in the Magic Kingdom. You know, we didn't have a little bus, we had the Magic Kingdom. But learning how to, when people tell you no, but you got God, and you got a great set of family, anything possible. And that's why I tell people I'm God's favorite. Because if it was left up to what people say, I wouldn't do nothing. I wouldn't have made the 23 to get on the ACT to get into college. You know, I wouldn't have passed the high school competency test. I wouldn't have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. You know, it's just that where I grew up, you had to get it out of the grit. And you had to be self-motivated. And you just couldn't listen to the naysayers that you can't do it. Now, my naysayer is inside me. So I battle with that a lot because a lot of that implanted a lot of seeds. And those seeds come through basically unsure yourself, not having the confidence. And it rears this ugly head with confidence. So I tell my story so people that's going through those confidence things like I went through, let them know that, hey, you know, you can do it. You just have to fall and get up.
Yep.
Can't let nobody discourage you, and that's how it is in life. You just, you know, we all got stories, but we can't let those stories stop us. We all gonna have naysayers. I had a teacher tell my mom, you know, he was a great teacher. I mean, I love him to death, but he said, "Pal, your boy think he going to college. That boy's too dumb to be in college. You know, you need to get him a good shovel, get him a good skill, put him out here. He'll make a good living. Get him a good double wide trailer. He could be something in life." Honest to God, and he meant it, and he meant that with all his heart.
And he didn't mean any harm by it.
No, he didn't mean no harm about it. He just said that's what that boy expect. My mama say, "Mr. Graybill, I love Mr. Graybill to death. Mr. Graybill, I hope you hear this." She say, "My son gonna be something." My boy, my daddy said knew better not to tell my daddy that, because my daddy was kind of goofy. My mama a church woman, but my daddy, he wasn't no church man. He'll tell you where to go and he'll put you there.
Yeah.
You know, he was a grown man. My daddy his nickname was Bree. Yeah. The definition of what you would see as a man, like big man, big hands. I mean, just a man. My daddy was if you had the definition of a man, he would be that man's best friend man. He would be that man look up to, like, boy, you is a man. That was my daddy. He was a man 24/7, 7 days a week. You couldn't be around him if you didn't have a man personality. If you didn't have an alter ego, or you didn't have that toughness about you,
just turn it on.
You can't turn it on, no, because he'll cut it off. Yeah. You just have to stay roll 24/7 with him, and that's how I was raised. And even though I like the confidence, it's just that a lot of that plant seeds, and when you're young, and then you don't understand that until you get older and say, you know, I remember coming to Iowa, up Iowa University, and everybody's doing this. And I'm going, you know, and it's one of those things that, you know, you adapt and overcome. You adapt and overcome. So I went to the tutor center. I say, "Can you teach me how to type? You know, can you teach me how to do this?" And they were like, "What? How do you get into college? Your ACT said it was good." I said, "Well, I don't know how to type, though. I never touched the typewriter. You know, I was in FFA. You know, I was out there hoeing watermelons and thinning watermelons while everybody was typing. I was out, you know, changing the oil at automotive tech. I was out there welding. Right. You know, they didn't put me in front of the keyboard. You know, they had to make sure that they won districts, you know, in football. So go to state and weightlifting. You know, they want to make sure, you know, that the program.
Yeah. That's what it's all about, too. I mean, for them, that's what it's all about.
But I thank God, though, that for Wildwood, I thank God for all the naysayers. I thank God for all the people that came against me, you know, because it's a testimony.
And that's what got you up to Iowa.
Up Iowa University, yes,
Upper Iowa. And then you graduated in criminal justice?
Yes, sir.
And then what was the next move? Was it straight into...
I went back to Florida.
Okay.
For a year. And I was going to be a deputy sheriff for the Sumter County Sheriff Office, and they wouldn't even take a look at me. I passed the test, passed the physical, everything, and they just wouldn't look at me. And at the time, I was dating my wife, and I'm like, well, I can't get a job. And then Florida Department of Correction said they have a job for me, and I worked for them for about 4 months. And I remember a guy coming to me. He said, you know, he asked me to do something. I said, "No, I'm not going to do this." And he looked at me. He said, "Do you think when you clock out, you go home, you think that's on your own recording?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "We let you leave. We let you leave." And I was like, what do you mean by that? So it was one of those wake-up calls, like, how do you want to live your life? And I kind of like, I said, "Hey, I think we need to try Iowa." So came to Iowa. I never forget, walked into this little small sheriff. I was right there in Fayette County. And they had this old cowboy named Marty Fisher. He was the sheriff. And I walked up to him and I said, wow, I get along with cowboys. I mean, he had John Wayne look-alike. I mean, for real. And I walked up to him and I say, here's my application. He said, come in my office. I never forget. He looked at it, went somewhere. I guess he probably ran my criminal history. I didn't know. Come back, he said, I don't normally do this, but do you want a job? And that was in 2001. I went to the academy, the Correctional Academy in 2002.
Where's that at?
Des Moines, Iowa.
Is that at Camp Dodge?
Yes, Camp Dodge.
Is it the ILEA? Same
ILA,
thing?
yes, sir, yes, sir.
Yep, I remember those. I know exactly where that building's at.
Went there. I graduated in 2002 and been working for the Fayette County Sheriff Office since then.
I was there in 2003.
Awesome.
Not at the ILEA. I was at those buildings, the OCS buildings. Like there's the ILE building and then the OCS.
Yes.
Yeah. But we'd always there would be times when they would have the academy going, and did they make you guys run up the stairs?
No, we didn't do no running upstairs.
Oh, that's what we always heard. They always make them run up and down the stairs.
We did defensive tactics, and the correction part of it is different. Right. We did a lot of classroom stuff, but they wanted to make sure you can write a report, make sure you can justify your actions, and got promoted about 16 years ago, Command Sergeant Major. So, Command Sergeant Major. So
that's a title. If that's the same type of title that it is in the Army, that's a title right there.
It is a title, yes, it is. And I try to wear it every day with utmost respect and loyalty, and I'm a get her done guy. It don't make no situation. I remember one day the sheriff said we need a new camera system, and the sheriff reached in his pocket and he pulled out lint. And I said, what is this? He said, we need a new camera system. And I knew from getting quotes, camera systems are about $2 million. I got a camera system, and we paid $16,000.
Dang.
And that was wired at the latest Cat 6 wires. The new, back then, it was 3 megapixel. That was a lot back then. And everything, and we walked out there just squeaky clean, $16,000. He couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it, but we got it done. And, we just seen other counties brag about spending $3 million on the camera system. Here we did it for $16,000.
I like how other counters are like, look at how much we spent on this state of the art. You're like, yeah, look at how much we spent, and both groups are proud.
Yes. But
3 megapixels for both.
yeah, exactly.
3 megapixels a lot,
right? So when did you start doing the barbecue?
Oh my goodness, I've been doing barbecue since the 80s. And I mean since the 80s. I remember
when were you born?
78.
I'm a 79 kid.
Yeah, 78.
Good Lord.
I remember my granddad and them going to the watermelon field and say, boy, and because they used to sell ribs. My granddad and my grandma, all of them was the rib people, and they used to sell whole hogs. Like, we got to go and make sure these people out here pick these watermelons right. I need you to wash this pit. And it was a big old brick pit, and it had like about five or six slabs and 2 whole hogs on it. And you had to burn pile over. You had to shovel the charcoal up under the hogs and the ribs and mop them. And I remember, doing that at 7, 8 years old. And they'll get back, boy, you didn't do too bad. And you'd be so proud because, a pat on the shoulder back then, them old people didn't pat people on the shoulder. That's what you should have did. Yeah. And I didn't know I knew how to barbecue until like 1999. They was doing something called a spring fling in up our university. And I remember they had this big old charcoal grill out here, and they had ribs out there. And they were just, the ribs was, I ain't going to say that, but it was blacker than something. In the words of Daddy, they were blacker than my ass. And I was like, man, y'all can't cook no ribs. I never forget. Where your mop at? They're like, mop? What is a mop? And I never forget. I told the lady, I said, go in the kitchen, get me 4 or 5 onions, give me some this, and this. And I made a mop sauce, and I got the charcoal, and I let them burn down real low. And they said, the charcoal's going out. I say, and I said, give me some wood. And I burned the wood down, and this was just supposed to be a charcoal pit, but I put wood in there, believe it or not, and the wood burned down, it got real low, and I got where I can do this a little bit. I'm like, it's ready. And I put the ribs on, and next thing you know, people was going crazy. And I just was like, this is just it. And I never forget, just every week people used to come get me like, T, you gonna barbecue, man? We're gonna have a get together, and they'll bring out the Weber grills and I barbecue. And I just thought it wasn't. And me and my wife joined this little small church called Abundant Life, and they had a lot of stuff they used to do for the kids, but they used to always have fundraisers, and they used to go out there with like, hot ham sandwiches, soups, and all that good stuff. I say, man, nobody ain't gonna donate no money for no darn soup.
That's donating out of the goodness of their heart. Those are out of the goodness of their heart donations.
Yeah.
But I can hear where you're going with this story.
Yeah. So I just told them, I say, man, go get me 4 or 5 boxes of them chicken quarters. Let me show you how the chicken quarters do the thing. And they're like, chicken quarters? I never forget. And back then, you get a 40-pound box of chicken quarters for $8. And we'll cook 5 boxes of chicken quarters at a football game and be set up at the church grounds, and we'll make so much money, man. And I never forget. And then the guy came to me. He said, Thyron, why don't you just buy this old oil barrel grill from me? And I never forget. I say, well, Mr. Scott, I don't know if I can, afford it. I'm just the only one working. My wife, she's still in school, and she's pregnant now. And he was like, just come over to the shed with me. And he just gave it to me. He was like, you do so much for the church, and just gave me that smoker. When he gave me that smoker, I ain't lie, I got bit by the bug.
I bet.
That smoker, I cooked for Charlie Daniels, cooked for David Allen Coe.
Oh, jeez.
38 Special. And let me tell you one thing about David Allen Coe. He was an amazing guy.
I saw him. Is he still alive?
No. I think, yeah. But he, I know his music was kind of goofy, but he was a good guy.
I saw him in a basement. in Iowa City.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those things where my buddy Derek, he's like, David Allen Coe is playing, and I was at Iowa at the time. And you've got all the indie rock bands and all, but nobody knows who David Allen Coe is. And we went and saw him in the basement for like, I don't know, we paid like $15 for a ticket. Yeah. This would have been in like 2005 or something like that, 2006. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry. You said David Allen Coe, and I was like, that was one of the best concerts I've ever been to.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Anyway, sorry.
So some of the same, it was around that time I cooked for him. He was, if I'm not mistaken, in Hazelton, Iowa, at an Eagles Roost. I think it was Hazelton, either Hazelton or West Union at Fat Cats, one of the two. Yeah. But I was just known as the guy that grill, the guy that do benefits. We did a lot of cancer, just, and then I remember that old oil barrel was just not big enough. I said, honey, I'm just tired of, just cooking, only cooking 12 slabs of ribs, got to load up every single time. I need to get a big smoker, and I never forget, this is our first time ever getting a big tax return back. We got a tax return back about $5,400. And my wife was like, honey, go and make it happen. I never forget this. And I went and got with a welder, Mr. Byron, God bless him. He built Old Rusty, reverse flow smoker. Old Rusty cooked like a crackhead on a Friday night. It smoked everything. Old Rusty smoked everything. I'm sorry.
That's phenomenal.
Old Rusty cooked everything. And I never forget going down here to New Bow City Market. First time they had a barbecue competition. First year open, Cedar Rapids. And I'm down at New Bow City Market. I never forget, can't call the guy out because he's still in business, but he came up to me and my wife, and I pulled old Rusty out there. He said, don't you know this is a professional barbecue contest?
Oh, no.
And I'd never been in a barbecue contest. That was my first one. And we're sitting there, and I'm cooking, and I never forget, the judges come to the table and try your food. And next thing you know, I had a crowd of judges. And they were just like, oh, my goodness. What kind of ribs are these? What kind of pulled pork is this? And I'm thinking like, I just mopped it. Ate it with the mop. I just thought that's just how everybody barbecue with a mop. And they were like, it's so flavorful. Why is the flavor down to the bone? And I'm like, I don't know. It was just one of those things. I used Grandpa's rub. I used the mop sauce. I used the barbecue sauce I make up. I sell in jars. I used the Royal Gold. It wasn't Royal Gold then. It was just a mustard sauce. And I got Grand Champion. And I was so proud. And I never forget walking with that church iPod with that, I just won this contest, and I started kicking butt, taking names in barbecue contests, but I realized that this is spendy, with little kids, and that's when I was doing good, doing everything for people, getting a couple sponsors, and I met the best thing that ever happened to me was Bridezilla. I got a call.
The show?
No.
Oh, okay.
A real life Bridezilla.
The real deal.
The real deal. So this person called me, and they said, hey, we want you to do a wedding. We know you do weddings. Free of charge, of course. As long as I can cook the meat, I'm okay, and do the sides. And I'm like, yeah. But his wife, he was the nicest guy you want to meet, man. But his wife, she just belittled me and made me feel so horrible that she made my wife cry. And she was like, we want you to slice this pork to order. I'm like, huh? And we want you to wear this chef hat,
I would have paid so much money to see that.
It was in Mason City, and this was a friend of a friend. I didn't even know these people. And what are you doing? We need you to move the tables. And I promise you, we didn't get paid no money. This was just a favor from a favor.
So they basically supplied they gave you the meat.
They gave me the meat, and I would just show up to cook. And this is just what I do because I told my wife at the time, justified it by saying, honey, this is how you make it big, because I didn't know how to make it big. So I figured you just do it free, and one day you're going to get paid,
No.
And, it was no person to guide me and show me. It was just like, this is how you do it. And I never forget, after that day, I seen my wife crying. And I don't get mad about a lot of things. Like, really, I don't. Like, me and anger just don't go together, because I never, ever made a good decision mad. So I don't make no decisions mad. I try not to get mad. But when I see my wife cry, it did something to me. And I say, honey, I promise you, we gonna be a business. I'm tired out. And I thought it was gonna be super hard. Man, it was $16 a month for the business insurance. It was, back then it was $25 for food vendor's permit, and it was like another $30 for another permit I needed, and I was fully covered.
Yeah.
I was like, and that occupation license and get an EIN number. I'm like, what in the world? Why do people think it was like such just horrible thing? So that brings me to my YouTube channel. So that's why I really concentrate on YouTube, to educate people. Like, it's easy to do it the right way instead of going out there doing it the wrong way and get everything you worked hard, get it taken from you.
I think that so many times, people tell themselves stories about how they think things are, and they don't just jump in and do it. And I think that a lot of times you'll find that and like you said, if you do things the right way, there is a process process. There is a process to all this, and if you do that, then, like you said, it's not nearly as hard or as scary as you thought it was going to be. But it's taking that first step.
Yeah, it was.
The idea is always scarier than the actuality of a lot of that stuff. Because I was terrified. I know when I was going through all that stuff, but I was like, oh wow, this is pretty straightforward. Because when I got my trailer inspected, I was so scared, and then go to start up all my stuff in my trailer, and my generator kept clicking off. My GFI kept clicking, so I forgot my little adapter that cost $2.49. So I get in my truck and I'm hauling ass to the nearest hardware store that I could find, and I bought like 6 of them, so it never happened again. And like, the person who does our inspections, she's like, we're not the enemy. She's like, our job is to help things, help make this easier for you. Once I heard that, it's a partnership. It really is. It's a partnership. It's just a very hands-off one, but it's a partnership. And, because the worst thing you could do is get somebody sick or that's horrendous. And, that I'm always really diligent about checking temps and, all that stuff. Because, God, I can't even imagine getting somebody sick or worse. So, but. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna stop talking for 15 minutes.
Oh no, you're good, man. You're good.
The state of Iowa has the best inspectors. Like they're really for the business owners. I could actually say that. Like I dealt with people in Chicago, people in Memphis, people in Texas, and compared to the state of Iowa, they're out there for us as vendors and the public. They're out there to help us to adapt, because and I can honestly say that about the state of Iowa. You have to be truly negligent for them to say bye-bye. I mean, I done seen some situations where they should have said bye-bye. But they say, let him cook. Let him cook. I was like, really? Let him cook.
So the Bridezilla is what got you to actually start your business?
Yeah.
Have you sent her your thank you note?
Nah, but her husband called me and just was like, hey, are you talking about my wife? I was like, no. No.
I would never do that.
I would never.
She was so sweet and understanding. And,
oh my gosh.
Well, she really thinks you're talking about her. No. What a coincidence that my wife was crying at your wedding, and
it was somebody else that made my wife cry at her wedding.
Yeah, she was the second.
Oh man. No, I get it though. Yeah. Jeez. So after you got your business license, so did you? Because you do. I know that you sell your mop sauce, and so was that what came first? Was it was it catering? Is that what you were doing primarily? Or
vending.
Okay.
Yes. I mean, oh my goodness! In the heyday of T&T BBQ, vending was a drug to me. I loved it, going to a softball game, just anywhere there was a crowd of people pulling up on them with some pulled pork and showing up and showing out, because the key thing about pulled pork, and especially pork loin, was it was dry. And I knew how to cook pork loin before a lot of people in Northeast Iowa, I think in the state of Iowa, because they was on that 165. And back then, I knew 165 was going to just get you a dry piece of pork. This before they even changed the rules. I was always going to if I could go to 148, because I knew that 165 wasn't it. Mm-hmm. So I was going 148, and people were like, it's so juicy. It's so delicious.
And just so for the folks that don't know, we're talking about fat levels, right? We're talking about fat ratio.
Internal temp.
Internal. Oh, we're talking about internal temp.
Yeah,
I'm
internal
sorry.
temp.
See, I didn't know.
Yeah, internal
Oh, you're good, bro.
Yeah, because back then it was pork 165 dry.
Did something change at some point in time,
Yes.
like in the last, I don't know, 20 years or
Yep.
so? Because when I was a kid growing up, my mom, like the pork chops were just.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! And now,
They essentially were able to eliminate trichinosis for the most part in pork because that was the reason why. Because I mean, you could die, if you ate undercooked pork.
Yeah.
Now, like a lot of times I'll cook my. And I'm going to preface this by saying that when you pull your pork off, the temperature does still increase. So, but you pull it around 140, 142. And it gets you to that 145 to 147. And yes, it is okay to have pink in your pork, people. You're not, I swear to God, you're not going to die. Now, the other thing is if you have chicken, 165, but the pink is smoke. We're not serving you raw chicken, I swear to God. I promise.
The meat is falling off the bone, guys.
Yes.
Like, I done seen people go nuts off 190 internal temperature chicken quarters. I mean, because you cook excuse my expression, but you can cook the hell out of some chicken quarters and they still gonna be juicy. I cook my chicken quarters to 190 because I like when the bone fall off.
Yep.
And I like the crispy skin. You can't get crispy skin at 165 on a chicken quarter. I'm sorry, it just ain't gonna work. You got to hit it hard with that heat, and about the time it get crispy, it's about 185, 190.
Yes, sir.
And people bring it back to me. This is pink. I'm like, you know what? There's nothing wrong with being ignorant. There's something wrong with wanting to stay ignorant. Do you want to be set free right now? This is called smoke flavor. Smoke. Nothing wrong with being ignorant now.
Just don't stay there.
That just means you untaught. You don't know nothing. But there's something wrong with when you want to stay ignorant. Now, you done came to my trailer 3 or 4 times talking about I see this pink smoke ring. It happens.
I tell you what, though, those old mothers, those ladies, they were cooking dinners for their families in the 80s.
They cooked the shit out of it.
Yeah. So my mother-in-law, who I love dearly, she was a county food inspector, or no, state food inspector for school programs.
Okay.
But she came out of that time, and like, man, I still have to convince Kate that, like, no, it's okay. It's all right.
Yes, a lot of things have changed in the last 20 years. There's no doubt about it.
So, so vending is what you started off doing, and then kind of like, so where were you at the point where, I mean, did you just do that for a really long time, and then you grew your social media group? Is that kind of the way things went for a long time?
Well, yeah, a long time it went from vending to catering to especially graduations. Like, I was the pulled pork drop-off king, and that's when I discovered, man, I can make some money out of this thing, and it really helped me to plateau where I could afford my wife to stay at home, raise our kids, and kind of still take vacations. Cause one thing barbecue do is it take your time, and I enjoyed it so much until it became like addiction. Cause now everybody around me has to be surrounded with barbecue. And that's the selfish part of me. Like, from growing it, the sacrifice that need to be made. And the sacrifice was vacations. Sacrifices was, honey, can we go on a cruise? We got the money. No, honey, because I need to say this for cooking.
And let's also just not forget, you're still working the full-time job with the Department of Corrections, right?
Yeah. Well, Fayette County Sheriff.
Fayette County Sheriff. My apologies. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Full-time job, and it's just like burning the candle at both ends is just not even saying. This was like, it was burnt. Like, torched at both ends.
The candle was gone.
The candle's gone, baby. You got some wax sitting there.
Jeez. Yeah. And so, is that still kind of where you're at, where you're still working at that pace? Are you, and with a county position like that, I assume what you're doing is that pension's nice to lock in. IPERS, that's it. IPERS, yes. Yeah.
Me and IPERS got a love and hate relationship.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like the goalpost keeps moving.
Mm-hmm.
So right now, I'm at a crossroads right now in my life. Like as we speak, as of this day, as of this second, as of this interview, I've never been in this situation in my life where I love my job. I got the best boss in the world, but I really feel like barbecue, and what I mean by barbecue, the whole thing, meeting Matt, meeting y'all guys, like this is who I want to be. I got so much PTSD from where I work, so much trauma, so much, I love my job, but so much seeing hurt people all the time, till it's kind of good to see people that have like interests I have. Because one thing about barbecue people, you may meet an asshole every now and then, but a 99.9% of the time, they're great people. I mean, when I say great people, I mean, I tell people, Iowa strong, Iowa kind, Iowa nice. And they say, what? In Iowa? Bruh, I could tell you some stuff in Iowa will make you cry. That just how good Iowa people are. Me and my wife go to the Greater Jones County Fair. This was in 2006. And we'll have that old pickup truck loaded down with Traegers and all the old grills, because I was always a marketplace guy, you know, a Craigslist guy. I ain't never bought a new smoke. I mean, I buy them now. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie, I got about $300,000 worth of smokers at the house. But back then you didn't know me. You know what I'm saying? I was a Craigslist junkie, and them people from different teams, different places, never met before, see my wife and see her with them car seats, and they'll just run. They don't walk, run. Hey, T, Miss T, go over there and chill out in my Winnebago. Go chill in my RV out of the sun and help me unload that joker, set my tent up, and I go out there and beat a mud hole in their ass. But, man, who does that? You know, good people, great people. So, people ask me, why you talk about Iowa so much like that? Because ain't that I ain't drink the Kool-Aid, it's that the Kool-Aid drunk me. Like, I live it. You understand where I'm coming from? I live it. Like these people ride or die for me. So, I'm a small business, you know, and a small business, like, I got loyal customers like Jeff. I love you, Jeff. Jeff live in Cresco, he a farmer. If I'm in Waterloo, Jeff in Waterloo. I'm in Des Moines, Jeff in Des Moines. Jeff buying $150, $200, and it's just Jeff. And he's just the support they have, and the love that the people have in Iowa. They want to see you succeed. There's gonna be haters everywhere you go, but the haters ain't nothing compared to what we have, man. And that's why I always tell people, you know, you gonna have your haters, but man, this right here, they want to see you win. When you're in an area where people want to see you succeed, see you win, you can't ask for more.
Yep. And I think that falls in line with pretty much every single episode that we've put out so far. We've talked about community, and we've talked about collaboration and not competition.
Yes.
And that's just been something that is, and I think that when you work from that place in your heart, then that's when good things happen to you. And I don't know, you know, it's just amazing how that works. And then you know, if you're gonna be a you're gonna be a jerk about it and you're not gonna help help folks out when they need it, then I don't know. I don't want to tell you, you might find success for a while, but I feel like sooner or later you just, I don't know, it just doesn't work out. But when you've got that community around you to help you out, and you've got those people who, like you said, have the same interests, and they are trying to do the same thing you're doing, there's a relationship, there's a brotherhood there, you know? And so why not get along with those folks, and why not help those folks when they need help? They're going to help you when you need help, you know?
Yeah. You know, it's just like Matt, for a prime example, 40 back. That's his Memphis name.
That's my Memphis name.
That's his Memphis name, 40 back. You know, first time ever meeting, we pull up, he's out there, he's making macaroni and cheese. I remember what you was making.
You do.
He was making macaroni and cheese out there in Marion, and I remember just coming up to him, and I'm like, nice smoker. He was like, yeah. I'm like, hey, I'm Thyron Mathews. Like, I know who you are. I'm like, man, who you are? He's like, I'm 40, and he told me his story, and it touched me. He was like, I just stopped working, and now I'm doing this full time. And I just looked at him. I said, man, I admire you. You know, I wish I was that strong to do what you're doing. Did I not tell you that, Matt?
You did. I don't know how strong I was. I think I was more stupid.
And and I remember just like, man, this kind of guy I need to be with me. And I'm like, hey, you want to go to I didn't know it was called Smoke Slam. I just said Memphis in May. You want to go to Memphis in May with me?
The first time he met me.
Yeah.
And
The first damn time. You know, it had been reported on TV, you know, that T won and stuff like that. And then my, one of the guys that works for me, Steve, shout out Steve, was like, hey, did you know that guy who won the Netflix thing, Thyron Mathews, he's going to be at Marion Barbecue Rendezvous. I was like, what? Well, I better watch that shit on TV. So I binged it, just crushed it.
How can you not?
I might have watched it in one sitting. Like, it was embarrassing. My wife was probably like, get the hell, will you do something? But I watched it and I was like, I gotta meet this guy. That guy's awesome. Like, just genuinely, like, you've never seen or met somebody who's just genuinely that happy just to exist. Like, you're the happiest damn guy I've ever seen in my entire life. And, like, it's infectious. Anybody who's spent any time around T knows, like, he's the sweetest person and he'll do anything for you. So I'm sitting there, and because I'm an idiot, and it's not the first time I've done it, but I was there overnight and I cooked all night. And then I saw him pull in, and that was the jolt that I needed. That was like, I was like drinking a Four Loko, baby. I was ready to go. And he came over and he's like, hey man, I was like, hi, I'm Matt, talked to him for a minute, and he was chatting. The next thing I know, he's like got his phone out and he's doing an Instagram thing, and he's like, this is my guy. What's his name? Matt. This is my guy Matt from 40 back. It was like back 40, but I was like, God damn it. Can you say it right? But like, he's just talking my ear off, and just like, I mean, he met me that morning and he's like included me on his Instagram stuff, and I was like, who does that? Like, he doesn't know me from anybody.
Well, you're a barbecue guy, so he already has that.
Well, yeah, but it's number. Like, that was the first time that anybody really knew anything of me. Like, they didn't even know me at the barbecue rendezvous. You know what I mean? Like, that was my first big thing. And it just genuinely comes up and he takes interest in you. And then he's like, comes up later. He's like, hey, I'm going to come by and have some food later. I'm like, oh shit. It's like, guys, all right.
Who was there? Was Jared or Zach there?
Yeah, both.
Both of
them.
Yeah,
I literally, I had 10 people working for me that day. Like, I treated it like we was a damn Super Bowl. Like, we had everybody there, because I was like, if we screw up anything or we need to go get something, I need to have people who can go get it done. And everybody was just phenomenal, just like they always are. And so he eventually came over and got some ribs. And he came up to me and goes, Matt, I'm going to tell you something. Them damn ribs, they are 9 out of 10. The only thing that kept you from a 10 is, man, you got to cut them damn things. You got to slice them ribs. And I was like, oh, shit, okay. Yes, sir. And, like, you know, when he had mentioned the Memphis thing, obviously I was on cloud 9, and I was like, all right, I'm never going to hear from him again. But, like, that was such a nice thing. And I'll be damned if I didn't spend a long time in a truck with this man sleeping in a parking lot for 4 hours, and I did not sleep. And we are not doing that shit again this year, man. I don't care what. If I have to walk there, we are not doing that again. But like, it was just crazy because it's like, you know, I go and I ride with him, and literally we talked on the phone, and I'd met him, and I think he was at the Sam's Club in Waterloo, and I got a buddy who lives in Waterloo. So it was a Saturday. I was like, hey, I want to go and have some food and, you know, talk to him real quick and stuff. Because I'm about ready to spend 8 to 10 hours in a car with this guy, and I don't know him at all. So, and we talked about, like, it got deep. It got deep. And I was like, this guy's my brother, man. I didn't say that because I want to sound like a psycho, but. And then he was like, you know, by the end of it, he's like, man, you're my brother. He's like, I love you, man. And I was like, oh my God, did we just become best friends? But it's like, it's just awesome because if I ever need anything or I have a question, no matter how stupid it is, or, you know, because I'm the first person to admit I am not perfect. I do not, I'm a drip in the bucket compared to a lot of these barbecue guys. So I'm always learning, and I'm always willing to learn, and I never feel stupid. Never feel stupid asking even a simple question about anything. And he's just super genuine with his time. And I don't know. I'm a lucky guy. I'm super lucky and blessed to have met him. And you know, we're going to go to Memphis again here in, what, about 6 weeks?
Yeah.
Something like that. And this, Jesus Christ, hopefully they don't have street races till 3 o'clock in the morning in front of our hotel again. And all of the other crazy shit that happens. I'm gonna have to get a Kevlar vest before we go, but I mean, it's just been an amazing experience. I don't even remember where we started talking, but because I'm gushing.
Hey Matt, I'm telling you, bro, you was a blessing from up above, bro. Seriously, you're an amazing guy, and your talents far past barbecue. Like, just knowing you is just like a blessing to me, because you meet people and then you meet people, and that's how I was when I met Matt. You know, I met him. I was like, this guy has a solid guy. He's a good soul, a great soul.
He is. He's a great guy. And
when you know what you know, you know what you know. You may not know how you know it, but what you know that you know that you know, you know.
What he said.
The first time I met Matt, I was doing I didn't met you until I said we're gonna do the lunch with friends.
Yeah, it was. Everything was through Zach. Yeah.
So it's through our buddy Zach, and he just it was middle of February, middle of January.
It was colder than hell.
It was so cold, and snows, you know, on the ground. And Zach brings me over, and Matt's like, open the door. He's like, come on in, and he has the whole spread laid out for us. And we did the interview, and then that was awesome.
That was so much fun. Like I was, you know, I knew Zach didn't, you know, he talks glowingly of you, so I knew you'd be a good guy.
Well, and I was super honored about a month ago, before I went to South Korea. He calls me and be like, hey, I did corned beef. You want to come over and try it? I was like, oh, yes. I will make time in my schedule. I'll be over there. When?
It's not hard to make friends when you make food. Like I said, food is community and love and family and all that stuff. But man, it's like, you know, because you always want feedback. I'd never done. There's a lot of shit I had never made corned beef.
You did pastrami.
I did pastrami. I did corned beef. I just did a whole hog.
Outstanding. How'd the whole hog turn out? Good,
dude.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's pretty. She turned out pretty. It was
sexy.
pretty hog, I'll tell you. But it was, you know, I didn't even think about it, but it was like, there was a surprising number of people that were absolutely grossed out.
Oh, because I mean, it's right there.
It's a fucking pig. I mean, that's that. You know, people eat. You know, a lot of people don't understand like where food comes from or don't want to know, and I understand that. Like that was me. You know, you go to the grocery store, you get the pork chops, you blah 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 blah.
I'll tell you what.
You didn't have to look. You didn't have to look at Wilbur in the eye beforehand, but now you do.
I was in South Korea, as you know, and we go to these open air markets, and the open air markets they had everything. It's like it's basically your grocery store, except it's a bunch of different vendors, and they got the produce, and then they got the butchers there. And I saw so many pigs' heads out on butcher blocks, just sitting out there.
Oh yeah, flies.
And then then they got the seafood because the coast is right there, and so they had tubs of like live octopus, and they had like it was cool. All right there. And I mean that was cool, but at the same time, you see your food.
Oh yeah,
and your food,
and it sees you.
Food sees you. Yeah, exactly.
That's like, oh, you know? So you're gonna be the guy, huh?
It was
Tim.
Yeah,
Tim's son.
But I think in America you take it for further granted. And further away from us. We don't really see that.
100%, 100%. I agree. And the thing is like, you know, I try to always be respectful. You know, I'll post stuff, and then, you know, I'm not going to use any names, but somebody posted sick, and I wasn't sure what the context was because I did several different posts for the day.
The positive sick or the negative sick?
Exactly. And then I did another one later, and they said sick. I go, yeah, in the good way, right? And then I did the other one later, and they were sick, and I was like, what's going on here? And then somebody trashed her. You know, of course, I did the Iowa Nice thing, and I just blocked her. You know, I wasn't going to sit there and unload or anything like that. But it's like, you know, but I didn't think about it, and I talked to a few people because I have a part-time job too, so I was doing that, and I showed pictures because I'm just so proud of it because it's the first one I've ever done. It turned out beautiful, like it was
sexy.
I'm telling you, like that thing was
sexy red.
That thing was tan. It was looking good. It could have been a golden girl. You never know. but like people were like, "Oh yeah, that's not really my thing." And I was like, "Oh shit. Okay, so sorry." So I was like, "All right, I'm just gonna keep this one to myself." And it was just funny. I think my biggest shock is the fact that we are the #1 pork producing state in the country, and
in the
world, and people are grossed out by pigs. Like, what the hell are you doing?
One time for Iowa Pork.
Yeah, there it is.
Iowa Pork Producers Association.
Oh yeah,
love y'all guys.
And what do you cook with it? The Kang.
Cooking with the Kang.
The Kang.
Kings for charcoal. The Kang of charcoal. The Kang. Shout out for the Kang.
Oh, I love it.
The lots of pork in South Korea. Lots of pork.
Wow. Ooh,
yeah, I don't know.
Smart
I can't remember where
people
it's coming from, but lots of pork. Yep. So.
In the words of I always tell my New York manager, love you, AP. One time for AP. But
2 claps for AP.
I always share with AP. I say, well, cause I'm a big hunter, and I say, you think food just show up on your plate? It just, it got to be to the end of that road one day. The chain of, what is the circle of life?
Circle of life, that's right.
Sometimes it ends with a 4-5, but it got to end.
His hunter's name is Grubhub. That's what his hunter's name is. There's no way in hell he's going shopping. Come on now.
Hey, we went hunting. You see the hunting video?
He went hunting?
Yeah, he filmed us hunting.
I was going to say, simmer down. He ain't hunting. Did you put an air tag on the deer?
Hey, when we pulled up at Edgewood Locker, it got real.
Oh yeah,
when you seen all the
carcasses hanging.
Yeah,
yeah.
He was like, bro, this is crazy.
I gotta take a minute.
But
man, that's crazy.
Yeah, but man, I got great people. I just want to give a special shout out to my wife. I gotta say, my wife is not a barbecue fan. She's a Thyron Mathews fan. And she is like one of my biggest, she is the biggest supporter of me. I mean, that woman pushed me when I don't have no fumes to go on. She's just like, honey, You gonna get it done. You gonna adapt. You gonna overcome. You gonna do this. And I just was like, you know, when you sometimes going through struggles, your wife know your deep dark secrets. She knows when you're just that little kid in the corner, scared out of your gore. You know, like I never forget when I took that tax return, and I first time having anything over $5,000 in my life, and I took that and gave it to an old guy that was in an old rusty house that said he can whale, and this old barrel smoker called Old Rusty, which is amazing. I got offered $20,000 for it. I told him no, but that investment is a seed she planted, and it's like a seed was love, but it just lit a fire to me, knowing that, man, somebody believed in me, you know, and it took us up through there, you know what I'm saying? Anytime you run a small business, sometimes it takes you up through there, because sometimes you look at a bank account like, oh Lord, you know, why you made this decision? But for the most part, you know, if I ain't have her confidence in me and her support, I don't think it would be a Thyron Mathews barbecue or T&T BBQ, because she truly, truly has stood beside me through thick and thin, and through all the downs and ups, you know, where people have truly took advantage of my heart and kindness and manipulated me. You know, it's bad when you know you're being manipulated. That's when you know you're getting done wrong. When you know you're getting done wrong, you know. And I mean, enough. Just it's not trying to be a sad story, but it is a sad story. I remember one time I took out bill money. I said, "Honey, I'm doing this wedding for this guy, and this guy, you know, and I did this wedding. This was no contract. It was shaking your hand, and he wanted prime rib, and he wanted pork loin, and he wanted cheesy potatoes and green beans." And I shook his hand, and I spent like $1,200 at the time. This when you could buy those logs of prime rib for like $75, $65. So that'll tell you how long ago this was. And I did the wedding and paid 2 other people to help me. And the guy like, "I'll bring your check back tomorrow." It's been 15 years. You know, but man. She as calling my mama and calling her mother saying I needed money to pay the bills, that was a crippling thing that I had to do. But I thank God for it now. Because
you learn from it.
I learned from it. I learned how that it's not personal, it's business. In order for me to take care of anybody, in order for me to do the good things, I have to take care of business.
Yep.
In order for me to be charitable, I have to have a successful business. I can't be charitable. Charitable.
Just say it right, bro.
Yeah, okay, just making sure.
In
order for me to give righteousness, in order for me to
intentional giving,
in order for me to do that, I have to have intentional giving, and part of intentional giving is good business, and that's why I had to separate, because my heart is so big, and that's why I had to learn that, hey, I have to have success, honey, in order to be a cheerful giver, because it can't have the bills cut off just because I want to be a cheerful giver. So we came up with a thing called intentional giving. We give intentionally, and I ain't gonna lie to you, I love to give. It's a natural high. I love to feed people, and no child goes unfed at my trailer. Like, I'm not gonna let you come up and spend money and buy a pulled pork plate and you got 5 kids behind you. Them kids gonna get what they want, whether it be a whole slab of ribs or whether it be whatever it be. Whatever I'm selling, they gonna get the best, because I know I'm God's favorite. I know that I'm gonna be blessed.
Yeah.
And I love to be the giver. So I'm just saying.
Love it. I love it. Well, Thyron, thank you so much for being here and coming here. I mean, like Matt said, I think I can get Thyron to come down and do an interview with us, do the podcast. And I was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. That's awesome. So thank you so much for coming down. What, I know you've do you have anything big coming up? Any competitions? Are you going to be in Cedar Rapids anytime soon?
Well, we're working out. I'm gonna be at Grill Works here pretty soon, and then I'm gonna
In
be
Marion? Grill Works in Marion?
Grill Works in Marion, and then I'm also gonna be at this bar over by. It's like a biker. I wouldn't say biker bar, but it's over by the river. Like you go down C Street.
Sagwagon?
You go down C Street. You turn down this little small one-way road.
Next to Ideal, what's it called? The bike bar.
Oh my gosh. I can't think of it now.
Broken Spoke.
No, Broken Spoke is the one up.
You can see the river right there.
Yeah.
I know which one you're talking about.
No, now I'm pulling up my Google
That's
Maps.
where I'll be at.
Thyron, you keep talking. I'm going to find it.
So yeah, and also too, I want to partner with 40, and we want to do something together. You know, something big. You know, like
Kickstand. Sorry.
Kickstand. Yes,
Kickstand.
I'm gonna be
Yep.
a kickstand, and then I want to partner with 40, where we got a network of people. Like we got Rick Meestall from California. Bring him down, have him do some of his famous barbecue. Bring a couple of Chicago people. Bring my buddy from New Orleans. You know, he was on BBQ Showdown. And I got something big that's coming this summer. I see you back this summer. I'm going to make sure that this be one of my first stops. Y'all guys just won me over. I'm just saying, I'm kind of mad at Matt for not pushing me to come here earlier. Matt, bad Matt, naughty Matt.
I'm gonna get him a second phone so he answers when I call him. This will be instead of the bat phone, it's gonna be the Matt phone.
But yes, I got things that's in the brewing. We're going back to Memphis Smoke Slam. We'll be the host with the most. Big T, Smoke Slam. We gave away more money last year than ever in any barbecue history of barbecue competition.
Wow.
Gave away $250,000 in 45 minutes.
Jeez.
Going back to Memphis, hosting Smoke Slam, myself, Melissa Cookston, and also Logan Sandoval. We're also doing a world championship, hosting that in New York in June. We'll be the host of that, going back to Atlanta, starting the tour. We also we got Dreams to Smoke Rings. We'll be doing our tour this year. Hopefully we hit it hard in Cedar Rapids, and then got a couple spots in other bigger cities. We'll be in Tuscaloosa, Alabama, in Labor Day.
Ooh.
No, Memorial Day. I'm sorry, Memorial Day. Tuscaloosa, Alabama. It's called Ground Zero. It's like a classic football game where it'll be 3 colleges: Valsa State, Alabama State, and then a doubleheader. I'll be hosting that. Actually, I'll be going against the winner of the competition in a 30-minute battle off for $25,000 for the winner.
Wow.
So we got a lot of big things going on.
A lot of stuff going on. I can't even like get up. Where can we find you on social media? And where can people find out where and when these events are?
Okay, you can follow me.
Here it comes.
You can follow me on Instagram at Thyron Mathews. On Instagram, you can find me on Facebook at Thyron Mathews BBQ. On Facebook, you can find me on YouTube at Thyron Mathews. That's ThyronMathews, 1 T. And if you want to find mops, Grandpa's pecan rub, all-purpose rub, Breeze open pit barbecue sauce, and we got that Royal Gold, and we got, don't forget about Mama Pass sweet and spicy, and like I say, hit him with that mop stick like a janitor. You know, you can find that at www.thyronmatthews.com. Tell me where you from. Get down. Yes, sir. So we bringing the South to your mouth on all our sauces and rubs.
I love it. All right, so I will when this gets posted, we're gonna make sure that all those are listed down in the notes. So check them out when you're listening to this. Oh my God! Thank you so much, Thyron. Really appreciate it. A couple of things that just some takeaways that I've been trying to write down. There's so many takeaways from this, but let me just get a couple of them right out. So, faith, hard work, and determination.
Yes, sir.
And again, another parallel that we've seen a lot is a partner who supports you.
Amen.
A spouse who supports you, and they support you when you're successful and when you're having your failures.
Yes.
Yep. Don't be afraid of inspectors.
Yeah.
They're not the boogeyman.
No, I like this one. Because I think this is an important one. Do business to do good. That intentional giving. I think that's really important. I think you get a lot of pressure out of the gate, especially in your guys' business too. I mean, you were not making a living off of it, just giving away, like saying, okay, I'll come and cook and I won't charge you anything. And obviously that wasn't helping your situation at the time. And it was literally that bridezilla that you're like, I'm done. I'm going to start charging. I'm going to literally start my business.
Yes.
But I mean, so do business to do good.
Amen.
So I mean, those are some of the things I got. Just a couple things before we wrap up here. One is I don't have a book. I tried to think of a book. I don't have a book today, but I did see a movie. 15-hour plane ride from Chicago to South Korea. I'm in the National Guard, guys. I was in South Korea for 2 weeks for my annual training. That's why I keep talking about South Korea, because I just got back like a week ago. But a 15-hour plane ride. I watched. God, I probably watched 6 movies, like 5 or 6 movies, and I can't remember a damn one, except for one, and it was this independent British movie, and it was called The Old Oak, and it was about this older gentleman, and he was running the town pub, and I think they were Syrian refugees. There were these Syrian refugees that were moving into the town, and he was trying to help. Them. Him and his. It wasn't a wife, it was like just a lady friend that he had, but they were trying to help these Syrian refugees, and they were just making sure they had a home and making sure that they had food and they had all the bare necessities. And the regulars, well, not all of them, but there were a few regulars in his pub that didn't like what he was doing, and so they were giving him crap for it and whatnot. And anyway, but anyway, it was really about this. It was about this man who was struggling to do what he felt was right, versus what people were telling him he should be doing. And he was going through some personal crisis and stuff, and really what happened was the love he was giving out was reciprocated, and the community really built itself back up around this pub. And I was like, that's a real good takeaway for life, but also for businesses, and kind of in the same spirit of what we've been talking about that community piece and giving out that love. So if you can find it, I never saw it. I just saw it on this plane and I picked it, but it's this British movie called The Old Oak. So
awesome.
I do want to know, Matt finally watched Chef.
Loved it. Like,
have you seen Chef, Thyron?
No, I haven't.
No. Oh, he's the next one.
You would like it. You would like
okay,
it.
I will watch it.
It like, because you've been just beating the shit out of me over watching it, and so has Zach. And you got to watch it. You got to watch it. Okay, I'll watch it.
And you understood, right? When
I did. Oh my, yes, because it's just like, I don't want to give it all away. Are you gonna watch it? Okay.
It's watched.
Okay.
It's about a chef who has a professional crisis, and then he goes and he starts a food truck.
Starts a food truck.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I was fired up. I watched it, and I'm not kidding you. I was fired up. I was like, man, I'm going to get my ass outside.
I'm pretty sure after you watched Chef, that was then when you went in and you did the pastrami and the corned beef.
You're probably right.
And then about a week later, you did. No, I think it was. I think you did that. Then you watched it. Then I think that's when you did the whole hog.
You're probably right, because I'm just telling you. Like, I saw it, and I was just like, oh my god. And now I'm watching The Bear. Have you watched that?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I just started the second season on that, and I'm watching that, and I like food stuff.
It's like watching a program.
Yes,
I'm watching program. You talking about
like
football
my
program? Yeah.
Program.
Like my
Snot bubbles.
like my grandma was watching my stories. So, but
Yeah.
no, it's it. Yeah,
The opening scene of that movie, Chef, is he brings in a whole hog and just like throws it on this.
Start breaking it down.
And he starts breaking it down. That's the opening scene.
Oh,
That's
man.
so good. Such a good movie.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much again, Matt. As always, it's good to have you with me on this
Always good to be here,
podcast
brother.
journey. Thyron Mathews, thank you so much. We really appreciate you coming down.
Thank you.
And I haven't had any of your stuff yet, so the next thing you're at, I'll be there for sure, man. For sure.
I'll get a hold of you. We'll go.
Yes.
We'll go.
Tone, thanks so much. Appreciate you producing
Thank
as
you, Tone.
always.
Hey.
And this has been Smokin' the Process. Again, I'm Tim Nash with Skogman Realty, and thanks for listening. And we'll see you next time.